Her fingers trembled as she turned the key in the lock, heart fluttering with anticipation. She had planned this moment for weeks, imagining his surprised smile, the warmth in his eyes when he saw her, a spontaneous visit, a small gesture to remind him that no matter how busy life got, she was still his wife, still the woman who loved him. The door swung open, her lips parted, a greeting on the tip of her tongue, but the words never came. The room smelled different, a mix of perfume she didn't wear and something heavier, warmer. The dim light from the bedside lamp cast shadows across the space, illuminating two figures tangled together on the bed. For a moment, she couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The man in the bed, her husband, froze at the sound of the door opening. His head snapped toward her, eyes wide with panic, mouth slightly open as if scrambling for words that wouldn't come. And then there was her, a stranger, dark hair cascading over bare shoulders, her fingers still gripping the sheets. She turned her head lazily, her expression shifting from confusion to recognition. And then, worse, indifference. The weight of betrayal settled deep in her stomach, suffocating, crushing. The pain, sharp and immediate, shot through her like a blade. Her breath came in short gasps, her vision blurring, her mind screaming at her to do something, anything. He moved first, scrambling to sit up, pulling the sheet around his waist as if that would somehow undo what had already been done. "It's not," he started, but even he couldn't finish the sentence. Not what? Not real? Not what it looked like. The excuses clashed against the brutal reality in front of her. Her chest ached, her fingers curled into fists at her sides. She had come here expecting to surprise him. Instead, she had walked straight into her own worst nightmare. The silence stretched, heavy and unbearable. She forced herself to look at him, really look at him, the man she had trusted, the man she had built a life with. And now, the man who had shattered everything in a single moment. And yet, the worst part wasn't just the betrayal. It was the fact that he had never expected to get caught. Her entire body felt frozen, rooted to the spot, unable to process the scene before her. Her heart pounded so violently in her chest that she could hear the rush of blood in her ears. The room was still, the only movement coming from the crumpled sheets on the bed as he scrambled to cover himself. His face twisted into something she couldn't recognize. Panic, guilt, or maybe just the sheer horror of getting caught. His mouth opened, but nothing came out at first. He was still searching for a way to control the damage, still hoping that somehow words could erase what she had just seen. "It's not," he started, but the sentence died in his throat. Not what? Not real? Not happening? The woman beside him didn't move right away. Her head lifted from the pillow, long dark hair falling over her bare shoulders, a slow, lazy smirk creeping across her lips. There was no shock in her expression, no guilt, just amusement, as if this moment was nothing more than an inconvenience to her. That was when something inside her snapped. Her voice, when it came, wasn't loud. It wasn't even shaking. It was steady, sharp, deadly. "How long?" His Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed hard. He didn't answer. The other woman moved then, sitting up, still half covered by the sheets. "Does it matter?" she murmured, stretching as if this were nothing more than a lazy morning. Her eyes snapped to her, fury igniting in her veins. "You knew about me?" It wasn't a question. It was a statement, a slow, deliberate nod. "Of course." The admission nearly knocked the air out of her lungs. Her fists clenched. She turned back to him, waiting for him to say something, anything. But he just sat there, silent, the weight of his betrayal so obvious it almost made her laugh. That was it. No fight, no effort, no desperation to fix what he had just broken. Her stomach churned, rage and heartbreak battling inside her. She took a step closer, her voice a whisper now, but filled with something even colder than anger. "Tell me the truth, or I will make sure you regret this for the rest of your life." His jaw tightened. "It was a mistake," he blurted. "I swear, it didn't mean anything." A hollow laugh slipped from her lips. "You don't accidentally end up in bed with another woman." The mistress let out a soft chuckle. "Oh, sweetheart, you'd be surprised." It took every ounce of control not to lunge at her. She turned back to him, ignoring the way his hands clenched the sheets like they could somehow shield him from the truth. She had come here expecting to surprise him. Instead, he had shown her exactly who he really was. She walked out of the room without looking back, her breath coming in sharp gasps as she fought the tears burning behind her eyes. Each step felt heavy, like she was dragging the weight of her broken heart. Behind her, the hotel hallway felt too bright, too clean, too ordinary for what had just happened. How could the world look the same when everything in her life had just crumbled? Her hands trembled as she reached the elevator, pressing the button repeatedly, as if that would make it arrive faster. She needed to get out of there, away from the suffocating stench of betrayal, away from the image of her husband tangled up with another woman. The doors slid open, and she stepped inside, pressing herself against the cold metal wall, trying to steady her breathing. The moment the doors shut, she let out a shaky sob, biting down on her lip to silence it. How long had this been going on? The thought clawed at her, refusing to be ignored. Had it been weeks? Months? Had she been blind this entire time, believing his lies while he smiled in her face? The pit in her stomach deepened as memories flooded her mind. The late nights at the office, the business trips that seemed more frequent, the sudden distance between them that she had chalked up to stress. She wasn't just heartbroken, she was humiliated. The elevator dinged, and she stepped out, forcing herself to move. She needed answers. Her hands gripped the steering wheel tightly as she sat in the car, her mind spinning. A war raged inside her. Did she even want to know the truth, or would it just hurt more? Her fingers hovered over her phone. Then, before she could second-guess herself, she opened his messages. There it was, text after text, hidden under a fake name, filled with words that made her stomach turn. "I miss you already. Tonight was perfect. Can't wait to see you again." Her breathing hitched as she scrolled further. Pictures, receipts from expensive dinners she had never attended, hotel confirmations, dates that lined up with every excuse he had ever given her. It hadn't just been that night, it had been so much longer. She gritted her teeth, her hands tightening around the phone as fury bubbled up inside her. All those times she had doubted herself, the times she had asked him if something was wrong, if there was someone else. He had looked her in the eye and lied. "You're being paranoid. I would never do that to you. I love you. You know that." She almost laughed, but it came out as a bitter sob. He had made her feel crazy. He had gaslit her into believing she was the problem. But now she had proof. Now she had a choice. And she would make damn sure he regretted every second of it. She gripped the phone so tightly her knuckles turned white, the messages blurring through the tears she refused to let fall. Each word felt like a knife, each memory of him dismissing her concerns now exposed as nothing but cruel lies. He hadn't just betrayed her, he had made her question her own sanity while he carried on with someone else, right under her nose. Her fingers trembled as she scrolled back through the texts, looking for something, anything that might explain why. But there was no explanation, no justification, no moment where he had hesitated. It had never been a mistake. He had chosen this, chosen to lie, chosen to destroy everything they had built together. A cold anger settled in her chest, overpowering the heartbreak threatening to break her apart. He thought he could do this and get away with it. He thought she would never find out, that he would always be one step ahead, feeding her just enough affection to keep her from suspecting the truth. She took a deep breath, her pulse steadying. He had taken something from her, her trust, her dignity, her belief in the life they had shared, but she wasn't going to let him take her power. Her gaze flickered to the hotel entrance in the rearview mirror. He was still inside, probably scrambling for an excuse, trying to smooth things over, to spin his lies into something he could control. Not this time. Her fingers moved quickly, screenshotting every message, every hotel booking, every damning detail. Then she forwarded them to herself first, ensuring they were safe, and then, without hesitation, she sent them to him. Within seconds, her phone buzzed. Him. Where are you? Let's talk about this. Another buzz. Him. You don't understand, it wasn't like that. She let out a humorless laugh. He was panicking. Good. For months, she had been the one doubting herself, the one second-guessing every gut instinct, while he played the role of the devoted husband. Now, it was his turn to feel the ground crumble beneath him. Another message came through. Him. Please don't do anything rash. We can fix this. Fix? She almost threw the phone against the dashboard. There was nothing left to fix. He had shattered everything. Instead of replying, she took a deep breath and started her car. She was done listening to him. As she pulled onto the road, one final message appeared on the screen. Him. Where are you going? She stared at it for a moment before pressing delete. Where she was going. Anywhere but back to him. Her fingers hovered over. Her phone, her mind racing with possibilities. She could send the screenshots to his family, his friends, even his boss. Let everyone see the man he really was. Let them all know what kind of person he had been behind closed doors. Why should she be the only one suffering? Her breath came fast and shallow as she imagined the fallout. His carefully curated image shattered. His reputation tarnished. He had humiliated her, lied to her face for months, made her feel like she was losing her mind. Exposing him would be justice. Her thumb hovered over the send button, but then a thought crept in. What would that change? Would it undo the betrayal? Would it make her feel whole again? Would it erase the ache in her chest, the way her heart clenched every time she replayed the moment she walked in on him? She squeezed her eyes shut, her grip tightening around the phone. Revenge was easy, but would it give her peace? She had a choice. She could burn everything down, or she could walk away and start over. The anger didn't disappear, but it settled into something sharper, more focused. She wasn't going to let him take another second of her life. She wasn't going to waste her energy on destroying him when she could be rebuilding herself. Taking a deep breath, she backed out of the message, deleting the texts she had been about to send. Not because he didn't deserve it, but because she deserved better. Instead, she searched for another number, a different one. Her lawyer. The call rang twice before a calm voice answered. Hello? She swallowed hard, then exhaled. I need to file for divorce. Saying it out loud felt like shedding a weight she had been carrying for far too long. After hanging up, she sat back in her seat, staring at the sky through her windshield. The clouds were shifting, the storm inside her still raging but beginning to clear. She wasn't going to let herself be a fool any longer. Instead of fighting for a man who had never fought for her, she was going to fight for herself. She sat across from him, fingers wrapped around the coffee cup, though she had no intention of drinking it. The heat pressed against her palms, grounding her, keeping her steady when everything inside her felt like it was spinning. He looked different now. Not the confident, put-together man she had once adored. There was no arrogance in his posture, no charm in his smile. His hands were folded on the table, his wedding ring still on his finger, as if wearing it could somehow undo what he had done. "I don't know what to say," he admitted, voice hoarse. She tilted her head slightly, studying him. "Then why did you ask me here?" His throat bobbed as he swallowed. "Because I can't lose you." She exhaled slowly, her fingers tightening around the cup. She had waited for those words, imagined this conversation so many times in the last few days. The pleading, the regret, the desperate attempt to keep her from walking away. But now, sitting here, she realized something. She wasn't the one losing anything. "I swear I'll change," he said quickly, leaning forward. "I made a mistake, the biggest mistake of my life, but I can fix this. I can fix us." A hollow laugh escaped her lips before she could stop it. He flinched. "Fix us?" she repeated. "You think this is something you can just repair?" His hands gripped the edge of the table. "I know it won't be easy, but I'll do whatever it takes. Therapy, transparency, anything. Just don't walk away from me." Her heart clenched at the pain in his voice, at the raw emotion in his eyes. A part of her wanted to believe him, to believe that love was enough, that promises could erase the damage. But she wasn't the same woman who had walked into that hotel room days ago. She leaned back in her chair, letting his words settle. He was waiting for her to cry, to reach for his hand, to say she still wanted this. But for the first time, she wasn't going to make a decision based on him. "What do you expect from me?" she asked, voice calm. "To just pretend it never happened? To wake up next to you every morning and not wonder if you're still lying to me?" His face fell, his shoulders slumping. "Number I just..." He exhaled sharply, raking a hand through his hair. "I don't know how to live without you." She nodded slowly. "That's the problem." Silence hung between them, heavy with everything that had been lost. She reached into her bag, pulling out a small envelope. His eyes flickered with hope as she slid it across the table, but when he opened it, the colour drained from his face. Divorce papers. His breath hitched. "You've already decided." She stood, grabbing her coat. "No, you did." And with that she walked away, this time for good. She sat at the edge of the bed, her hands gripping the divorce papers she had just given him. It should have felt like closure, like the final nail in the coffin of their broken marriage. But the weight in her chest hadn't lifted yet. Something still didn't make sense. His reaction had been too controlled, too prepared. His face hadn't twisted in shock when he saw the papers. There had been no anger, no denial, just quiet acceptance, like he had been expecting it, and that's when it hit her. She hadn't been the one caught off guard. He had. Her stomach turned as she grabbed her phone and pulled up her messages. She scrolled through the screenshots, the receipts, every piece of evidence she had gathered. The dates, the locations. She had obsessed over them, convinced that this affair was the moment her marriage had fallen apart. But she had been wrong. Her fingers froze over a hotel confirmation from 6 months ago. She had assumed it was the same woman, the one she had caught him with. But the name on the booking was different. She read it again, her breath catching in her throat. It wasn't just one affair. Her blood ran cold. The lies stretched back further than she had ever imagined. This hadn't been a mistake or a moment of weakness. This was who he was. Her heart pounded as she pieced it together. He hadn't fought for their marriage because there was nothing left to fight for. The woman in that hotel room had only been the latest in a long line of betrayals. All this time, she had been grieving one betrayal when there had been so many more. A new kind of rage settled in her chest. She had wasted tears on a man who had never once deserved them. She had blamed herself, questioned what she had done wrong, wondered if she could have saved their marriage. But now she saw the truth. She hadn't lost a husband. She had lost the illusion of the life she thought she had. The door creaked open, and he stepped inside, his face unreadable. "Did you forget something?" She stood slowly, gripping her phone so tightly her knuckles turned white. "How many?" His brow furrowed. "What?" "How many women?" Her voice was calm, eerily steady. "How many times have you done this?" Something flickered in his expression. Panic, regret, and then acceptance. She knew the answer before he even spoke. That was the moment she realized she wasn't the one who had been left broken. He was, because she was walking away, and he was going to have to live with that.